So we're in the basement of the bank, and the manager, Rocco, says to me, Mike, you really going to spend all that money to fix this up just to count cash? How much cash you going to have? We can handle it upstairs. I said, Rocco, trust me. So I spent like 30 grand. We put in a safe, we put in a counter, buy money machines, the whole thing. So now the day comes, he says, Mike, come on, how much cash you going to have? I said, stand here. Before you know it, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 guys and my guys come down. They got boxes on their shoulders. They put it down. It's about $3 million. He looks at me, he said, we needed the room. Hello everybody, welcome to another sit down with Michael Franzese. Hope everybody is doing well. And yes, as you can see, still not back in the studio, undisclosed location, doing some heavy work. People are asking me, Michael, is it about the Sammy thing? Gotta wait and see. Can't give things away, but just stay tuned, you're gonna find out. But I'll be home shortly. But right now, we're living it up in a different place. What are we gonna do today? I get asked a lot about the gas business. Michael, the gas, and you had all this money and so on and so forth. Let me give you a couple of facts that are straight. Number one, I'm not the only one that was in the gas business. I've said this many, many times because people say, Michael, the Russians started it. The Russians did not start it. The Russians were involved in it. 3 of them were my partners, Markowitz, Bogatin, and Lev Persitz. They were my partners in it. But I brought them into what I was doing because they couldn't get the licenses for the business. I was able to do that. They were part of me. There was other guys doing it. Some of the Jewish guys were doing it. There was 1 or 2 mob guys that kind of got a hold of it. They talk about gas pipe. I don't know how involved gas pipe was in it. I'll be honest with you. At one point in time, I did a favor for somebody that he latched onto in a certain way. So was he the initiator, the starter of it? No, he wasn't. But I will say this is just for me, you can say what you want. I think we did it better than anybody else. We had an 8-year run. We made a tremendous amount of money. I got indicted for it. This is all a matter of public record. You don't have to believe me if you don't want to. You can look it up. We did a lot in that business. I had a lot of experiences over those 8 years with the Russians, with my own partners. One character, Larry Irizzo, he's the guy that came to me initially with the idea for this scheme. He was a character, 6'5", 450 pounds. I think he hit 500 a couple of times. He was a character. You know what? He did turn informant on me. I was disappointed because for 7 or 8 years that we were together, we never had an argument. I think one time I was upset with him. One time because he did something he shouldn't have done. But other than that, we made a tremendous amount of money together. Our families were close. His kids called me uncle. My kids called him uncle at the time. We were very, very close, made a tremendous amount of money. And we had a lot of fun together. Look, we had a jet plane together. We had a helicopter. We went all over the country with it. We had boats. We had a huge RV that we paid at the time $350,000 for. And we just had fun in these things. We enjoyed ourselves together. Yes, there was rough times because that was a very competitive business. We were constantly, arguing with people over it, people on the street that wanted to get involved. There was a lot of stuff going on, but he and I were solid at that time. When he became an informant, again, I was disappointed, but I understood. He just couldn't do the time. I'm going to be honest with you, the boss of my family, a few people, Michael, you want me to take care of this guy? I'll do it. I couldn't do it. I was too friendly with him. I knew his wife and kids. It wasn't something I said, look, I know what's going on. He's not going to hurt any made guys. He can only hurt me, maybe some members of my crew. We'll fight him in court. I fought him once in the Giuliani case and I beat him. And then I took a plea the second time. It was based upon the gas business. I knew he was going to testify, whatever. I took a plea for a lot of reasons. Not going to get into that now. You know that. I've spoken about it many, many times. One of the things, though, that really stands out in my mind, we made some good connections during the time that I was in that business. You got a lot of money to throw around, you make a lot of friends. Money brings friends. Are they real? When the blank hits the fan, then you find out. But while you have the money and you're passing it around, everybody wants to be your friend. You people know the deal. Well, we were doing extremely well. We were getting a lot of cash was coming in. And the bank that I was involved with on Long Island couldn't handle the cash. that we were now bringing into the bank and then wiring it out to different places. We had accounts in Austria, we had accounts in the Cayman Islands, and we had to take care of it. But we were bringing in, $8 to $10 million a week, and a lot of that was cash. So the bank, what's going on here? How are we going to handle this? So one day I walk into the bank on Long Island. I'm not going to mention the bank. I speak to the bank manager, who's a good friend, and I got to tell you something. This guy wasn't on a take. I wasn't paying him anything. He was a legitimate guy. He loved to go to concerts. So Westbury Music Fair was the big concert hall on Long Island. I used to get him tickets all the time. I said, if you need any maintenance on your car, I'll fix it up for you. That's what I did for him. Wouldn't take money. He was a straight up guy in that way. Liked me a lot. We went to lunch a couple of times. So I walked in one day and I said, you got a basement in this bank? He said, yeah, Mike, why? I said, let's go downstairs. We go downstairs and it's got a pretty big basement. I said to him, his name was Rocco. I said, Rocco, look, business is really good. He knew I was in the gas business, obviously. I had all my accounts there. I said, business is really good. I said, look, we got a lot of cash coming in. I don't know if you can handle it upstairs. I said, we're going to need some extra service. So here's what I want to do for you. I said, this basement is perfect size. I said, I'm going to send a crew in here. We're going to fix it up. We'll spend whatever it takes. We'll panel it up. We'll build a counter there. We're going to buy a couple of money counting machines. We'll put a little safe in there and make this basement only for me. I said, if you got to use it for somebody else, okay, but don't let it interfere with the business that I'm doing. He said, you're really serious, Mike? You're going to do that much business? I said, I'm dead serious. He says, okay. I send a crew in there. We fix it up. I spent about 30 grand, I remember at the time. Really made it nice. In case we ever left there, we got pinched or whatever, he'd be able to go and use it for something else. So we fixed up the basement. I made him hire 2 tellers. We put some counting machines in there. We had a safe in there. And all the cash, probably at that time, out of the 8 to 10 million a week, we probably had $2 to $3 million a week in cash. All small bills, maybe even a little more at certain times. After we finished, the first day, he said, Mike, when is this going to start? I was going to start today, Rocco. You ready for it? He said, yeah. What happens? We had a guy outside. We bring in about 6 or 7 or 8 boxes. We got all these small bills, and we bring them downstairs, and we put them on the counter. He's looking around. He said, wow. He says, how often is this going to be? I said, almost every day we're going to be bringing the cash in. We don't want to leave it around. And that was it. He was happy, obviously, and he was wiring the money for us to different places. Back then, there wasn't a reporting requirement. You didn't have to report. Now, after a certain time, forget when that started, but anything over 10 grand, you had to report. But early on, you didn't have to report that. I don't remember exactly what the law was back then, but for some reason, we were able to get around the way we were doing it. I don't remember that, and I think Rizzo set that up a little bit more with him because he knew him, obviously, also, too. But that was it. That was just another part of the business that we enjoyed that was a little bit unique, I would say. And I'll tell you this, when everything went down for me, the big investigation, I got locked up on this case, he stood up. That banker didn't say anything wrong. He didn't put me in trouble in any which way. He was a stand-up guy all the way. I got to say that. So you never know, who's going to be the right guy when the time comes. So basically that's it, and look, these are stories of my past. I want to make that very clear. I know when I look at the analytics, we have a lot of young people, 25 to 34, even some a little younger that are watching these things. I tell these stories because people want to hear them. It's not what I do now. And obviously, I walked away from that life. I wouldn't do that now. I've talked about this, over the weekend, I did a big men's ministry in Texas. And I told them one of the main things that you got to remember, when you go home today, I said to them exactly, I want you to look in the mirror and ask yourself, who are you accountable to? Because the person, the thing that you're accountable to in life, that's the path your life is going to take. And I said, when I was in that life and I was in the mob, I was accountable to my oath, accountable to my boss, accountable to the guys around me. I had to make sure they were earning money. And so I engaged in criminal activity and I did a lot of things that I shouldn't have done. When I got out of that life, honestly, I became accountable to God. I'm a person of faith. And I've developed this kind of God conscious. Doesn't make me perfect, not saying I'm not a sinner. I do the wrong thing sometimes. I believe I'm better than I was back then because now I'm accountable to God, okay, for my actions. I'm accountable to my family, to my wife and my children, to the people that support me, that depend upon me to do the right thing. Accountability. So all you young people that are listening, I'm telling stories from what I did in the past. I'm not in any way encouraging you because remember, I went down on that. I lost everything. I got a 10-year prison sentence, $15 million in restitution. All the assets I had were gone. The government took everything over. So I'm not suggesting in any way, shape, or form that you get involved in that or in criminal activity of any kind. And please take this to heart. I'm telling stories because people online like to hear it. On YouTube, they like to hear it. And I get it. That genre, this whole mob thing is something that's very interesting to people. That's why they do movies and television series and write books about it. And that's why there's people on YouTube talking about it all the time. But I don't in any way, shape, or form, encourage you to engage in that kind of activity. As a matter of fact, I discourage you, and I've been doing that for the last 25 years. My track record is there. I've been to over 1,600 churches in 20 years. I've been to juvenile halls. I speak to inmates. I do everything I possibly can to try to get people on the right track. So I just want to make sure, want to be clear on that. So that's it for today. I'll be back to you soon. And how do I always leave you? Be safe, be healthy, God bless, and yes, I will see you next time.